He's someone Georgia fans should be excited about. That was Matt DeBerry's comment to me about, well, it's on the article as well, about Georgia's latest pickup in the 2026 class, Zach Fort, who plays at IMG. I'm going to put the article on the screen so you don't have to look at me the whole time. Plays at IMG, picked the Dogs over Bama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. So, it looks like Georgia picking up someone, not an elite, but a really good player for them. I'll tell you one thing after watching him, he will come up and hit you. You do not always see that with safeties or DB, just DBs in general, but you don't always see that. But he will come up and hit you. Now, what will that mean in the future? That's just so hard to know in terms of how much a guy will develop and this, that, and the other. He made a few plays in some of his highlight films, but the biggest thing that jumped out to me is this guy will come up and hit you. You want that. I mean, football is a rough sport. I don't know if anybody's picked up on that or not. It's a very physical collision sport. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. And, you got pads on, but you better be ready to fight when you go out there. And this guy looks like he's ready to. But now, will he do all the other stuff to get onto the field? I don't know the answer to that. That's hard to know the answer to. But a really good pickup for the Dogs today with IMG's Zach Fort. So number 11 safety in the country. Here's what he said to us about when he got the offer from the Dogs. He said, I was really excited when I originally got the offer from Georgia. It's a blessing to earn an offer from them. They're a great program that sends players to the NFL year after year. I also love their academics and what the program stands for. Here's what Matt said about this commitment for Georgia. He said, Ford is a team captain at IMG. He's held this offer from Georgia for 2 years. He's instinctive in coverage and tracks the ball well in the air. He's got above average ball skills. Fort shows strong leadership qualities and knows how to wrap up and make a strong tackle. He's a competitor. He's someone Georgia fans should be excited about. He definitely will come up and hit you, and I mean, that matters. Look, he's only the fourth guy in this 26 class, and I understand that recruiting has changed because of the transfer portal. But when you start talking about IMG, the place that Nolan played, and there's a lot of IMG isn't really like sort of this risk anymore. It's a more established place to go, and for very serious athletes. IMG back in the day was Nick Bollettieri's tennis academy with Andre Agassi and all of them, and it has morphed into this gigantic phenomenon for sure. Nick Bollettieri, for those of us who were tennis folks back in the day, I mean, Nick Bollettieri was the man, okay? And Jim Courier, Maria Sharapova, Andre Agassi, Boris Becker. I mean, the Williams sisters. He had a lot to do with all of them, and as it relates to, but most specifically with Andre Agassi, I don't read a lot of books because they after a while bore me. The Andre Agassi book was very good. You need to pick that up. I know that's not about football, but it's one of the all-time great reads that I've had. And anyway, IMG has become a very serious place in terms of you go down there and you develop. Well, that's what's going on here. And, with what they've done with football and basketball, it is a destination for people who are very serious about athletics. Isaac Nada, Nolan Smith, just off the top of my head. I think Warren Brinson was down there, just off the top of my head. I can't remember everybody. So IMG, when you're going to be the captain down there, that takes a little bit of, this is not your high school. I mean, you're coming from California, in this case. You're coming from California. And, everybody else is coming from around the country too. But for Fort to be the captain, you want as many captains on your college roster as you can. People want to talk about leadership, but when you have guys who are captains of their high school football team, as many as possible on your roster, that is legitimate leadership. I mean, it's something that you don't have to teach it as much. You can develop it. And some guys it comes to naturally, and obviously for Fort it does. So what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? So Georgia is the only program in the country that has signed a top 3 class the last 4 cycles. And again, I know recruiting is different now. I mean, the portal has changed everything. That's how it goes. It's what it is. I'm acknowledging that. I'm not disparaging it. I'm not advocating for it. So when you take a look at high school players and what that means for them, it means, you might not get picked up if you're not really good. And it also means that these rankings that I'm talking about, they may well be distorted because guys might not be there 3 years later. Guys weren't there 3 years later all the time. Like, that had slowly been eroding away. Think about Cam Newton. Think about Baker Mayfield. Think about Stetson Bennett. Those guys, I mean, any quarterback at Oklahoma. I mean, so, guys, it's becoming more pronounced for sure. And so college football has changed. Therefore, recruiting has changed. And, you don't stop recruiting. The calendar, the calendar, for those of us who have been doing it as long as I have, that's the strangest part of all of this, is that the calendar has just completely gone inverse. I mean, the summer has become abnormally important. The winter is only focused now on the field. There's hardly any drama. There is no drama on signing day. People don't know when signing day is. So it's really up to Kirby, his staff, Schumann, to get these guys now. I mean, to lock them in as much as you can. And when you have a KJ Bolden that comes on at the end instead of Dylan Raiola, you're okay with that. Like you keep that relationship going with KJ Bolden so that if something happens with a Dylan Raiola like it did, and Carson Beck returns, Dylan Raiola, all that whole thing, then you have the relationship in place where you can sign KJ Bolden. So that's what you've got to do. But KJ Bolden happened in 2011 or 12 or 14, it would have been, particularly in 11 and before, it would have been an explosive story. It's just not what it used to be. And it's just what it is. So I think when I start talking about they've done a good job with the only program that has done this, that matters a lot. It does not matter like it used to. However, it is a leading indicator in terms of how well are you doing recruiting people. I mean, the portal is recruiting too, y'all. I mean, the portal, it's not the only difference now is age, but a lot of the difference now is age. I saw Cam Newton, who has become way better at this than he used to be. Okay, just like he's far more insightful than he once was, or at least he's doing a better job of talking about it. His point the other day was exactly correct in that if you're a quarterback in high school, like, transfer portal guys are taking your opportunity away because it used to be, they bring you in and develop you. Now they're just going to get somebody else. Yes, that's exactly correct. And they'll go get Cam Newton, or they'll go get Stetson Bennett, or they'll go get Baker, or they'll get, there's no shortage of people that you can just go get. Look at the Ohio State won the national championship with a transfer quarterback. Michigan didn't. Georgia did. In 2020, Alabama did not. LSU did in 19. So, it's a guy, this is the new way. And so I've gotten off the subject here, but I think that you have to start your board. You have to start your board with a solid grouping of players from the world of recruiting. And when you do that, you can take everything else from there and sort of cherry pick what you need in the portal. Ole Miss, if Lane was the portal king last year, it didn't work. I mean, it worked enough, but it didn't work at the end of the day. Now, was that Lane or was that the guys he's got? I mean, I don't know. They had some really good players, and they didn't get to the playoff. Like, that's amazing. So, and call it whatever you want to, but you got to start with a frothy, beginning of your class, and you got to have 25-ish guys and on up. And the SEC, for the record, the Southeastern Conference, the restriction is still 85 scholarship players for football, okay? We are still in a moment in college football in collegiate sports, where we don't know where the goalposts are going to land with certain things in terms of the $20 million payments that each school is going to probably have to pay. We don't know. We don't know a lot. There's a lot that we still don't know about the future of college football. But in the meantime, you got to have players. And the best way to get players is to have them on your campus through recruiting. That is how it works the vast majority of the time. If you still look here on this board, which I can't show, which I'm choosing not to show you, the vast majority of the players at Georgia are non-transfer guys. And that means they have gone out, Georgia, looked for who they wanted to get, and they got them. Okay, through recruiting. Portal-wise, they probably from here on out will sign like 7 guys in the portal. They might lose 15 or something like that. It could be more than that in both cases. But like if that number alone, that 15 and 7, that's 22 variables that have changed. That is not half your roster. But remember, a significant number of guys leave because they have no eligibility left, or they leave because of the NFL. So then you're starting to talk about 35 players are different. Well, that's almost half your team. So this is a consistent thing that's going to continue to happen in college football. But it is a very good pickup for Georgia. Look, I don't know if they're going to sign the number 1 class again this year, but adding Zach Fort is going to help them. Not a top 100 player. He's 102 for consensus. So we'll see if that moves. It's hard. You got a lot of data on the guys from IMG. So usually they don't move a ton, but if they're going to they'd be this time of year. It's this next it's this next section of time. I was about to say 5 months, and I would say that's about right. So, February to July, that's it. You're not like I know how the .coms are. They are going to want to, manufacture traffic. But basically, it's this time. If you don't move, you're not going to move. But it's a good pickup for the Dogs. Matt DeBerry saying he's someone Georgia fans should be very excited about. Thanks for watching.